So yesterday in the evening, it was reported that by Politico that the Supreme Court is going to overturn Roe V Wade, and of course this created a bombshell. So just to recap what happened yesterday, a supposedly an insider, perhaps a law clerk, someone working for the Supreme Court, leaked to the Politico that the Supreme Court is ready to overturn Roe v. Wade. It was supposedly a 5-4 decision, and 5 of the conservative justices aligned against 3 of the liberals, plus Chief Roberts joining the minority liberal opinion against it. This is going to create a bombshell. It already has lots of repercussions. So the number one issue that they're talking about today is the leak itself. So obviously this was done with an attempt to stop this from actually happening, right? So if you leak it and the actual opinion is supposed to come down and be published in June, so next month, right? According to the leak, the draft opinion that was written already was written in February. This is against the Mississippi case where the lawsuit was brought to the Supreme Court. They were trying to the Mississippi case. They were trying to get rid of Roe v. Wade. They were saying that there shouldn't be restrictions, that the states have the rights to put in the restrictions without the Supreme Court being involved, without this being a federal case. So it appeared that it was possible that Chief Roberts and the majority would rule for the Mississippi case, but not overturn Roe v. Wade, stating that they could put that restriction in. So going back, Roe v. Wade, essentially what it said was that the women had the right to an abortion, a federal right, and states cannot put drastic restrictions, right? They'd have to be common sense restrictions. So many states would just completely, outlaw, as previous to Roe v. Wade, outlaw abortions, and the Roe v. Wade stopped all of that. So the Mississippi case, they were actually trying to get. It's my understanding they were trying to get Roe v. Wade overturned, and the court could have done many things. It looked like the court might have just simply said, in this particular case, the restrictions that they were trying to impose were constitutional. They were aligned, that Roe v. Wade allowed for that type of restrictions. There's many restrictions that states impose, and most of these restrictions have been tested by the courts, and they're okay. If, again, the leaker is intending, obviously, to stop this from happening. And so how could they do that? Well, of course, today, now the day after the bombshell, there's going to be protests, right? The liberal side is going to come out, as they have already done. Chuck Schumer and others are going to protest and say this is, an abomination and it shouldn't happen. And they're going to try to put pressure on any one of those 5 justices that supposedly, presumably, have weighed in and voted, 5-4. So they have until June, whatever date the ruling is supposed to be published, right? In a normal flow of events, they would have their deliberations. They would talk behind, chambers, and not in public, in private, as this is always done, and they would collaborate, and they would go back and forth, and then there would be an opinion reached, right? And they would publish that opinion, and after the fact, so they would say, our ruling is this on that date, and then here's the opinion, and then it's just a matter of law. So I'm not personally familiar with any leaks that happened previous to this in the Supreme Court, but apparently this is unprecedented, right? So the leaker is trying to, before the actual, this thing is published in June. Of course, it's a draft opinion, so it could very well be that some people are have not made up their minds. Actually, this could all be wrong, right? But it's probably right. I went through some websites, for example, the SCOTUS blog, and they had talked about various things. But what stuck out was this tweet. So those interested in who leaked the draft should wonder why the writer, a national security reporter for Politico, shares the byline. The leaker would insist that their identity be tightly held. Politico would not assign someone who did not have to be on the story. So, this is obviously, again, done in an attempt to stop this from happening. Now, let's go back and look at a couple other things. So, this is from Huffington Post, and this stuck out. So, this is this unprecedented view into the justices' deliberations is plainly news of great public interest. Our obligation is protected by the First Amendment to report the news and inform the audience. So this is from Politico itself. So obviously, if these news organizations are going to get a leak, they're gonna publish it, right? I think I would too. It's not the issue of them publishing the leak; it's the issue of the leak being sent to them in the first place. SCOTUS blog says that the draft document was almost certainly authentic, but doesn't reflect the comments or thoughts of other justices on the bench. And the site added that the leak would cause an earthquake inside the court. And in fact, they follow up. It's impossible to overstate the earthquake this will cause inside the court in terms of destruction of trust among justices, which is what I want to talk about. So, if you're on the liberal side, you're gonna applaud the leak. You're gonna say good, and you're gonna say, hopefully we can change this, and there's gonna be outrage, and they're really gonna try to get any one of these 5 justices to not follow along. By the way, that might have been the case anyway, right? This was a leaked document that said draft. There's more than a month to go between today and the date it's supposed to be released. So minds didn't necessarily have been made up already, but it might dissuade somebody, right? And that's a problem. So if you're on the Democratic side, if you're on the liberal side, you might be applauding this, right? Well, so you have to check your bias. Let's just flip the coin. Let's say this was a left-leaning court, and some of the left-leaning justices decided to align something, that's against what other liberals might be, for, and everyone would be outraged on the left, right? If a leak happened and it happened to, make a justice change their mind, right? They would say that's a catastrophe. So we have to be consistent. I think that, if one rule, so if it's okay to leak, then it's okay to leak. And if it's okay to leak and change someone's mind because the pressure put to bear by the revelation, then it's okay on both sides. And I think that my own personal opinion is it's not okay. So this is why these leaks are, rare, if maybe even never happened to this extent. So, it's supposed to be based on law, right? The rule of law, not the rule of the mob, not the rule of pressure. So the courts and justices and judges are supposed to be elevated above all of that noise, right? That's their job. So I'm not saying it because I agree one way or the other. I'm not talking about my personal belief of Roe v. Wade and abortion rights and that type of thing. I'm talking about just strictly from the point of view of the rule of law. So I don't think it's a good thing. So here's CNN's take. McConnell calls the leak of the draft opinion an attack on the independence of SCOTUS. So he released a statement focused on the leak. It's a stunning breach, was an attack on the independence of the Supreme Court. The action should be investigated and punished. All 9 justices should tune out the bad faith noise and feel totally free to do their jobs, etc. Right? But there are certain interesting nuances to this case. This next one down here. So Senator Collins from Maine, right? Definitely a swing vote on any Supreme Court justice. She indicates that if the draft opinion is accurate, it's inconsistent with what Kavanaugh and Gorsuch told me, right? So when they got nominated, they have conversations with senators, and she's indicating here that, her private talk that she had with these two justices, that they had indicated that they would not overturn Roe v. Wade. This is one of the issues that the liberals had with Amy Coney Barrett, and it was pointed out that Donald Trump had appointed her. He has said so himself. He's appointing these justices to overturn Roe v. Wade. And if you remember, during the confirmation hearings, they had grilled her on that. And she had basically said that, stare decisis, let the decision stand. It's settled law. But she also had given the out, as all justices do, that doesn't mean automatically that anything that's settled law cannot be revisited in the future, right? They bring up the Dred Scott decision from the 1800s. So that was overturned. But I do remember it being reported that she had said that, she had concerns with Roe v. Wade, her personal belief of, abortion shouldn't be like abortion on demand, that there some restrictions might be necessary, or could be, states' laws could allow certain restrictions, which is presently the way it is, right? So every state can impose reasonable restrictions is how it comes down. Now, I read previously that there was about 20 states in the United States that had banned abortion prior to Roe v. Wade. So, or had indicated that if Roe v. Wade was overturned, that they would impose that restriction. So, what this does is it doesn't ban abortion. It doesn't do anything like that. It doesn't affirm or ban. It doesn't do anything about it. It just sends it back to the states to decide. So essentially, what they're saying is that it's not a federal issue. There's no right to abortion in the Constitution. There's no liberty clause that the states can impose their laws like they do in every other aspect of law. So some states are going to then take this and they're going to ban abortion. Some states are going to put certain restrictions in. Maybe, for example, you can't have an abortion after the first 13 weeks or 15 weeks. Some states will not allow for exceptions of incest or rape. Some states liberal states are not going to have, maybe zero restrictions or very minimal restrictions, like California, for example. So it's going to be framed that this is an attack on women's rights, reproductive rights. In some sense, by definition, I guess you can say that that's true, but as a matter of law, that's not what's really happening here. It's just it's saying that there's no federal right to abortion, and bring it back as it was prior to 1973 and let the states decide for themselves. This is going to create an uproar. It already has. Last night when this was released, there was lots of protesting in front of the Supreme Court. So I think, again, setting aside all of the law aspects of it, whether you're pro-abortion or middle ground or anti-abortion or pro-abortion rights, this leak has created the environment where the Supreme Court justices cannot deliberate without being afraid that someone's going to leak what they're saying, what they're talking about, and especially before their minds are made up, right? It's rare that we find out and get really good insight into what they were saying, even after a decision is made. I'm pretty sure the 9 justices are going to come out and attack this leak, right? This is not how their organization, the Supreme Court, deliberates, right? They deliberate as they should behind closed doors, right? They're not out there to seek the opinions of everybody. They're looking at the law itself. So they're not going to like that this leak happened. They're not going to like that it was designed to dissuade them. Even I would imagine even the three liberal justices that voted against this, and even Chief Roberts who voted against this. I don't imagine they're going to be happy, because it's going to one day it'll be on the other side of their shoe will be on the other foot, and they're not going to like that at all. So this is absolutely amazing development. Let's see how this plays out.